The National Assembly is made up of 400 members. The impact of the Electoral Amendment Act is that we may now have independents, because the law now allows independents to be members of parliament. We never had that before. So that's the impact. But in terms of the composition of the House, that will not change the 400 members. You'll still have. Of course, there's a technical process of working that out. Where you have 200 members from the region to national, and you have 200 members from national to national in terms of the voting. Once the results are announced, they must still be handed over to Parliament. Now, the system that has been developed there is that the Electoral Commission will hand the results to the Chief Justice. And why the Chief Justice? Because the law gives the Chief Justice the authority to determine the dates for the first sitting of the National Assembly, of the National Council of Provinces, of the provincial legislatures. So once the names, the designated members are given to or the people designated to be members of Parliament are given to the Chief Justice will then hand that over to Parliament and the provincial legislatures. We anticipate that to happen in the coming week, after the declaration, obviously. And then the Chief Justice must set the date for the first sittings. And that is where you will then have all the members of the National Assembly, specifically I'm talking about the National Assembly now, go to National Parliament, and the first sitting of the NA and the first sitting of the provincial legislatures will be on the same day, in all probability. And at that sitting, there are 4 things that must happen. The first one is that the members must be sworn in, take the oath or affirmation, and that process is led by the Chief Justice. Once that process is done, you then, because the House is now fully constituted, you then move to the election of office bearers. Once the members can begin to transact business, you then go to the election of office bearers. You study the election of the Speaker. That session will be led by the Chief Justice as well. That is done. You then go to the election of the Deputy Speaker. The Speaker must then preside over that. And then you now have members sworn in. You then have a Speaker. You then have the Deputy Speaker. At that point, in fact, I must correct myself, at that point, the House is then fully constituted. It can then elect the President. So the election of the President will come last. Usually starts at 2 o'clock, but it depends on how long the other election processes take. Then once the President is elected, the NA is done with this sitting. The next day will obviously be the NCOP, once the provincial legislatures are constituted and delegates are sent to National Parliament. Then you have the NCOP sitting, electing the chair, electing the deputy chairpersons. And beyond that, if you want me to go beyond that, of course, members must then attend the inauguration of the President, which must happen within 5 days after the first sitting of the NA. And after the inauguration, we must then run an onboarding program, induction of members. That will run its own course. And beyond that, the houses must meet to elect other office bearers like house chairpersons. the committees of Parliament must meet, like the Rules Committee, must meet to establish portfolio committees in the NA, of course, in the NCOP to the select committees. We still must pass the budget. The budget was not passed at the time we adjourned. So Parliament must still pass the budget. It must still go through the Houses of Parliament, the committees of Parliament, the houses, both Houses of Parliament, and then it's passed. In terms of the law, the budget must be passed within 4 months from the start of the financial year. So we expect that by end of July, we'll have passed the budget. But before that, we think that we will also have the opening of Parliament. I'm saying we think because we don't have the date yet. Must still have the opening of Parliament, which previously was called State of the Nation Address, second State of the Nation Address. But now, in terms of the rules, it's called the opening of Parliament. And from then on, the business of Parliament continues.
The CSIR, in collaboration with the SABC, are once again part of the South African elections, using its prediction models for the South African national and provincial elections, a model that the CSIR introduced since the 1999 general elections. And standing with me now is Dr. Jeffrey Baloyi of the CSIR. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for taking this interview.
No, thank you for welcoming me.
Dr. Baloyi, if you could briefly share with us what is the role of the CSIR in an election?
Okay, the role of the CSIR, and as you said, we collaborate with the SABC, is to utilize our expertise as a scientists and engineers to come up with a prediction model that can help assist the country and especially society at large to really track how well the elections are unfolding as the IEC is busy giving out the results as they come through from the different voting districts.
And what are these models that the CSIR is using to arrive at its predictions?
We have developed mathematical and statistical models that we look at the data that we collected from previous elections, and from there we develop the algorithms and into a software package that we can use to predict what results to expect once we reach a particular level of voting district declarations.
So this is not the first election, obviously. Now, based on the previous elections, have these predictions really given you the outcome that you would like to see?
Yes, I don't want to brag, but absolutely. Since we started doing our predictions since 1999, we've always been accurate in our predictions, and we started cooperating with the SABC since 2004, and we also feel comfortable and confident that even in these elections, we're going to be accurate in our predictions.
And when does CSIR start with its work? When does CSIR ordinarily start preparing for an upcoming election?
Actually, we start as soon as we collect the results from these elections. For example, for the next elections, we have to update our models with the new data. So we start as soon as possible. So when the next elections come, for example, the municipal elections, when they do come, we are ready for it.
Mr. Baloyi, thank you very much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
Well, that was Dr. Jeffrey Baloyi of the CSIR talking to us about CSIR prediction models in an election. Since the late 90s, the IEC has partnered with the Human Sciences Research Council to undertake a program on electoral research. Joining me now is Dr. Stephen Gordon, a senior research specialist for developmental, capable and ethical state at the Human Sciences Research Council. Good afternoon and thank you for talking to us.
And thank you for talking about such an important, relevant issue in our fast-changing democracy here in South Africa.
If you could just briefly give us an overview of the work of the Council.
So the Human Science Research Council has been conducting an election satisfaction survey since 1999, tracking satisfaction with the quality of elections. We must remember that elections are only considered free and fair if the voters themselves share this perspective. So we've been asking voters, do you think the election was free and fair? How can we improve the election experience? What can the Election Commission do to make sure your vote is safe, secret, and secure?
Now, if you've just shared some of the intentions for conducting this research, but if you can just briefly take us through some of the methodologies that you use when conducting the election research.
So we have data scientists. They select 300 voting stations. We send field workers to those voting stations. They conduct an exit poll. So as people exit the voting station after having voted, they're interviewed and asked a number of questions. Usually it takes about 15 minutes. These voting stations are selected according to their demographics, geographic position, and their socioeconomic makeup. We follow the best international standards in terms of weighting and analyzing this data, and indeed credit must go to the Election Commission for investing in one of the longest, most robust election satisfaction surveys, not just in Africa, but in the world.
Welcome back. You're still watching the
May we
live
be
broadcast of Parliament TV. Of course, we are bringing you the first sitting of the National Assembly. And as you can see on your screen, the Deputy Speaker election
Order.
Vote counting has concluded. But let us take you back to the House.
I wish now to ask the returning officer to give me the results. Thank you. Honorable members, the report on the results of the counting of votes for the position of the Deputy Speaker are as follows. Total number of ballot papers issued were 339. 339. Total number of ballot papers counted, 338. The total number of invalid ballot papers were 12, meaning that there were 11 that were spoiled, and there was one which had been issued, and yet it was actually stamped on both sides, and it was therefore not used. I now want to announce who got how many votes. Honorable V. Zumula, 54 votes. Thank you. Honorable Annelie Lothriet, 273 votes. Thank you. On behalf of all present here, I wish to congratulate you on your election, Honorable Lothriet, on your election as Deputy Speaker. You now have the opportunity of addressing the House for a few minutes as an expression of your honor on being elected. You can utilize the podium. C stand.
We are standing.
Order, honorable members. 2060. Order. Can we now allow the Deputy Speaker to give her remarks?
Honorable Speaker, Chief Justice, Mr. President, honorable members and guests. Madam Speaker, I would firstly want to congratulate you on your election. I can assure you of my support, and I wish you strength, courage, and wisdom. This is a tremendous honor and privilege, as well as a great responsibility that has been bestowed on me. This is a position that I do not take lightly, and I fully understand the trust that has been placed in me. I undertake to fulfill my duties with care, commitment, and humility, and to be fair and just, and to do all in my power to do justice to this position. I would like to thank you for your trust that you have placed in me, and I undertake that I will do everything not to disappoint you, and that we will make this seventh Parliament the best Parliament ever, and that we will work for the interest of the people of this country. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam.
Honourable Speaker, it's Honourable
Sorry?
Telezi here. I wanted to check whether the Speaker can use her discretion to also announce the results of KwaZulu-Natal.
Order, Honorable Hlabisa. May I ask the returning officers just to move the ballot boxes a bit so that I can see members at the back? Well, Honorable Hlabisa, I would have loved to do so, but
No,
for all the
Buthelezi.
provinces that have already undertaken their elections, these results are very interesting overall. Honorable members, we have concluded the proceedings for the election of the Deputy Speaker of the House. In consultation with our religious leaders, as it is always the norm, that after the Deputy Speaker has been elected, they usually bless the House. We have asked them to do so after the election of the President. I will now ask the Chief Justice to come and proceed.
Speaker.
Honorable Shibambo?
Speaker.
Yes, I can hear.
No, thank you very much. We have sent you a letter using Rule 119 of the National Assembly rules to request that you should invoke Section 8(9), subsection 1 of South Africa's Constitution to invoke the impeachment process in relation to the report which was tabled here in the National Assembly in relation of Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa's involvement in the Phala case. So we have sent you that letter that is an immediate issue of focus and error of focus, and a motion that should be invoked as per Rule 119 of the National Assembly rules, that the immediate urgent motion that we must attend to should be the impeachment process of Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa for the case which was established to have prima facie basis by a panel which was led by a former Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court. We have also delivered the hard copy letters to you now and the Deputy Speaker of the Democratic Alliance so that you can pay attention to it as a matter of urgency. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Shibambo.
Can you please acknowledge the receipt of the letter? Yes.
Honorable Shibambo, thank you very much. Your representative have just delivered an envelope indicating that this is the letter sent to me. I'm not sure whether the Deputy Speaker has received such a letter. However, this matter will need to be deliberated upon. As you know, that there was a process that was undertaken by the 6th administration, and that matter was concluded as such. And therefore, in this instance, once we have considered your letter, we will give you the response on how the 7th administration would like to respond to this matter. For now, we will proceed with the election of the President of the Republic of South Africa. Chief Justice.
Yes.
Honorable members, we are now at the stage where we have to deal with the election of president. There will now be an opportunity for nominations for President of the Republic of South Africa. Are there any nominations? Honorable member here.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. My name is Mdumiseni Ntuli, the Chief Whip of the African National Congress, and I hereby nominate Honorable Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa as the President of the Republic of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Somebody must just raise the hand.
DA.
Who in the honorable member there? Okay. Mr. Singh?
It will be Honorable Hlabisa, Chief Justice.
Or Honorable Hlabisa?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Justice. I am Velenkosini Hlabisa and hereby second the name of Honorable Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa to be the President of the Republic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Although the nominee will be required to signify in writing whether he accepts or not, I would like to find out at this stage whether the nominee accepts the nomination. I think he's reluctant.
Chief Justice, I do accept the nomination with pleasure.
Thank you very much. Are there other nominations?
Yes, Chief Justice. Right at the back.
Yes.
Must I stand up?
Oh, hang on 1 second.
Oh,
hang on 1 second.
I'll pick up the mic. Okay, fine.
This nomination complies with the requirements and is valid. Are there other nominations?
Yes, Chief Justice, I'm already on the floor.
Please go ahead.
I thought my nomination was making you nervous a bit. I, Ngabayomzi Lawrence Saziso Kwangwa, ichawe lezulu zigodlwana zemazendala zingalala endleleni kunyembelekile, hereby nominate Julius Silo Malema as candidate for election as President of the Republic of South Africa. I thank you very much.
Order, 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 order. Thank you. Is there a seconder for that nomination?
Chief Justice.
Yes.
I, Vuyo Lwethu Zungula, uDosini, uNcwina, uNoyila, uQabashe, into engathi inkosi emntwini ngoba inkosi ngokwayo, I second the nomination.
Thank you very much. Although the nominee will be required to signify in writing if he accepts the nomination, I would like to know at this stage whether the nominee accepts the nomination.
I, Julius Sello Malema, accept the nomination.
Thank you. Thank you.
Josie, stand up. Mary Julius, why is a decline?
Josie, ML.
We will wait for the form. The nomination of the second nominee for the position of President of the Republic of South Africa complies with the requirements and it is valid. Yeah, okay. I now wish to announce that the candidates that have been properly nominated for the position of President of the Republic of South Africa are Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa and Mr. Julius Silo Malema. Yes. Is there any further nomination? There is none. Since more than one candidate has been nominated, a secret ballot will take place in terms of Item 6 of Part A of Schedule 3 of the Constitution. I now suspend proceedings to allow the returning officer to prepare ballot papers. We shall resume proceedings when the bells are rung. The proceedings are suspended.
Julius, Ndlozi did not stand up when you were nominated. Fire him.
Please, you must talk.
Commander-in-Chief. Commander-in-Chief.
On the election of the new president, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa,
In the month of June, Parliament joins the nation in commemorating Youth Month, a time to recognize the contributions and aspirations of the youth in our society, a time to reflect on the struggles faced by young people in the past and to celebrate their achievements in shaping the future. Youth Month holds great significance in South Africa as it marks the anniversary of the student uprising in 1976, when young people took to the streets to protest against the oppressive apartheid education system. Their courage and sacrifice have paved the way for a more inclusive and equitable society. Parliament acknowledges the importance of investing in the youth, as they are the future leaders, innovators, and change-makers. It is committed to creating an enabling environment for young people to thrive, providing access to quality education, skills development, and economic opportunities. Through various initiatives and legislation, Parliament aims to address the challenges faced by the youth, such as unemployment, inequality, and limited access to resources. It recognizes the need for inclusive policies that empower young people and ensure their active participation in decision-making processes. As we commemorate Youth Month, let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting the youth and working towards a society where every young person can reach their full potential. Together, let us build a brighter future for the youth of South Africa. Parliament, empowering the youth for a better tomorrow.
You are still tuned in to Parliament TV live at the CTICC, where we are holding the first sitting of the National Assembly. Of course, it's been an eventful day since about 10 a.m. this morning, where we saw the election of the Speaker of the National Assembly, and then, of course, we just saw the results of the election of the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Now, I'm going to take you through those numbers a little bit. Remember, we had two nominated candidates, and this was Mr. Vuyeletshe Zungula from the ATM and Dr. Annelie Lotriet from the Democratic Alliance. And the Speaker of the National Assembly announced the results as follows. There were 339 ballot papers issued. Of those 339 issued ballot papers, 338 were counted. 11 were spoiled and 1 was invalid. Of course, Mr. Zungula received 54 votes, and Dr. Annelie Lotriet received 273 votes from the National Assembly. And of course, this means that Dr. Annelie Lotriet is duly elected as the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. And I think it's quite a profound moment that we have a National Assembly that is led by women.
Of course, Support, this is a very historic moment. We have the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly both being women. And yes, you just gave us the breakdown of how the election of the Deputy Speaker went on in the House. we now know that Dr. Annelien Lotriet has been nominated the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly and will be working together hand in hand with Ms. Toko Didiza. And what followed after that, we saw the Chief Justice returning back to preside over the election of the President. And yes, two candidates have been nominated, one being President Cyril Ramaphosa and the other one being the President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Mr. Julius Selo Malema. You know that Mr. Dumiseni Ntuli nominated the President and was seconded by Mr. Velenkosi Hlabini, the President of the Inkatha Freedom Party, who at the time also asked if the Speaker could make an announcement of the results of the KZN provincial legislature. However, that was not entertained by the Speaker on the basis that 9 provinces had held elections, so she would have to make announcements on all those outcomes. And of course, then we know that Mr. Nkwankwa Nqabalumzi of the UDM, he got up and nominated Mr. Julius Malema as the presidential candidate, and that was seconded by Mr. Zungula, who was nominated for the position of the Deputy Speaker by Mr. Floyd Shivambu. So the House has been suspended to prepare for the ballot papers as we are done. We're electing the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, and then once the ballot papers are completed, then you'll see those voting booths back in the studio. But just to give you a little bit of information on the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Annelien Lotriet joined Parliament in 2009 as a member of the National Assembly. She serves on the Joint Constitutional Review Committee, the Powers and Privileges Committee, the Joint Committee on Ethics and Members' Interest, and she's also the Deputy Shadow Minister of Science and Technology in the Democratic Alliance, Parliament's official opposition. In May 2019, she was elected as the official opposition's Parliamentary Caucus Chairperson, the Shadow Minister of Higher Education and Training, and the Shadow Minister of Arts and Culture.
Today is truly historic, as this is the first time there are 2 women at the helm of especially because it's been celebrated on the 16th of June. We're celebrating Youth Day. And of course, and encouraging to see that we have a national assembly rather that is led by 2 women.
I think, Sabo, the other thing that you need to